Welcome to the first week of Dark Shadows on the Net. I'm Veronica.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we're Dark Shadows on the Net. For the first week of Dark Shadows on the Net, we thought it appropriate to cover the first week of Barnabas on Dark Shadows. These episodes are episodes 210 to 214, which were shown April 18th to April 21st, 1967. Today's episode, we're covering episode 210, which was written by Malcolm Marmorstein and directed by Leela Swift.
Oh, wasn't she the first female director on the cast?
She was one of the first female directors on television, period.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so she's a big name, and she's one of the driving forces of Dark Shadows.
Oh, cool.
Malcolm Marmorstein is also a driving force of Dark Shadows, but not everyone agrees on whether he was altogether good or trying to take credit for things.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one refutes this. He was the driving force behind the Phoenix storyline, which was the first all-supernatural storyline about David's mother, and that was the storyline before Barnabas, and it actually made it possible, raise the ratings, so that Barnabas could get on the show.
Yeah.
However, he tries to take the entire credit for the creation of Barnabas Collins, and not many people are agreeing with him. So, there's that. And they also said that he wrote Barnabas too flowery. Jonathan Frid had short-term memory problems, so writing Barnabas with long, lengthy speeches was not the ideal thing to do, but still, it made for some very interesting dialogue, so I won't knock him for that. However, for this episode, the first clip that we're going to show is of Willie Loomis and Jason McGuire in the foyer discussing Willie's recent activities. Let's watch.
And remember,
Willie?
Hiya.
Where are you going?
My room.
Wait a minute. Come down here.
What for?
I want to talk to you. Now.
What do you want?
Where have you been?
Out.
Out where?
Around.
Don't give me answers like that. Come down here. Now, I want to know where you've been and what you've been doing.
What are you getting so nosy about?
Because you've been acting kind of strange, Willie.
No, I'm not.
I know you. You've been quiet and cagey. I've seen you like this before. You've got something going for yourself, and I want to know what it is.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow, that was a great scene.
Yeah, Willie Loomis and Jason McGuire, they're great together.
They really do. They work really well together. You just get the sense that they really do know each other for a long time. And that, sorry.
And that is attributed to John Garland, who plays Willie Loomis, and Dennis Patrick, who plays Jason McGuire. They were really good friends. And you can see that chemistry, that enjoyment, that fun-loving nature that both of them have.
Yeah.
You can really see that in their scenes, and that makes their scenes that much more enjoyable.
They really do, and they really know how to work off each other at a moment's notice. When one goes in a certain direction with the emotional part of the scene, it's great.
Yeah.
And It's also wrapping up Willie's involvement with Jason and Elizabeth, too.
Yes.
At this part, because this is when he's just got the wind of this treasure hidden away somewhere. So he's going off looking for that, and in the foyer, he's really frustrated because he can't find it.
Yes. And that is weird for Jason, because Jason and Willie, some backstory here, Jason and Willie were partners in crime for years, traveled everywhere together, did
Probably
everything
banned from
together.
a couple dozen countries.
Yeah.
Especially Willie.
And Jason is trying to blackmail Elizabeth, head of Collinwood.
Mm-hmm.
And Willie was supposed to be involved with that, but now Willie has got something going on his own, and Jason can see that.
Yes, and that really worries him because he thinks Willie's just stealing stuff from that house, which would ruin everything he's trying to do.
Yeah.
It would destroy it in a heartbeat. So he doesn't want that. So he needs to know what Willie's doing so he can control Willie and do damage control if anything's happened.
Yes. That is true. Speaking of Willie, here's another clip highlighting John Carlin, as he is the only person in the scene, and as aforementioned, he is trying to get the treasure. Let's watch.
Naomi Collins.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That was great, and I really like that scene because it does show his ability to hold the scene just by himself.
Yes.
The smoking of the cigarette, the frustration, just trying really hard, just the way he thinks for a minute with it in his mouth, like you see this whole progression using a, what would you call it,
A tool.
A tool, yeah.
He's using the cigarette as a tool.
Yes, an acting tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't get away with it today, but, you know.
Well, in a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Carlin is deep into his character, even though this is, only the 5th episode that he's been on?
Yes.
But you can already see how deeply he is involved. He is Willie for, 20 minutes out of the day.
Yes.
Well, longer, giving rehearsals.
Mm-hmm.
But did you also see the tombstones in the mausoleum?
And that is significant because they never changed throughout the entire series.
No, and that is very strange for the majority of Barnabas' backstory.
Yes.
Those tombstones are his father, his mother, which Willie was trying to get into his mother's coffin.
Yeah.
So he kind of deserved what he got.
Mm-hmm. At least by Barnabas' standards.
Yes. And his sister, and the dates and the names and everything that we know about them never really changes.
No.
And that is strange because you go back in time later on in the series and you find out that a lot of what you know about the Collins family, a lot of what you know about them has changed. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
There were lies in the history book.
Lots of those.
Yes. But those 3 members of his family, their deaths, their births, their names, their relations, never changed.
Yep.
And that is really cool, and it's also very odd for Barnabas' backstory.
It is.
Yeah. Speaking of Barnabas, I think we should see the groundbreaking release of Barnabas from the coffin.
Let's watch.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yes.
That was wonderful. I really like Willie's terror.
Yeah. Willie's terror is, that little, like he's too scared to actually say anything.
Yeah, like the shock of you open the coffin that you know is at least a century old, and the guy looked like he was just buried. Oh, and now his arms around you, now his hands around your throat. This is going in a great direction.
Yes.
Yeah, I really liked that. That was awesome.
Yeah. And just the powerful use of silence.
Mm-hmm.
Once,
Very good news.
yeah. Just the chains are around the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
You hear the heart thumping. Willie's found what he thinks is a treasure.
Yes.
He's tearing the chains off with...
It's like a Christmas present.
for Willie, yeah.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the chains are off, silent.
Mm-hmm.
Completely silent.
Mm-hmm.
And Willie's like, great. It's silent. That's a good thing, right? No. It's because Barnabas got what he wanted.
Yeah, he knew the coffin was about to be opened.
And just the crunching of him breaking the seal on the coffin. Everything about that scene would not have been so effective had it not been silent.
Yes,
Had
I
there
agree.
been music. The only music we hear is at the very end when we know what's happening.
Yes. And that was very well done.
Yeah. It's just amazing.
Mhm.
I mean, kudos to Dan Curtis and Leela Swift and everyone who was working on this episode, on this scene.
I agree.
It's wonderful.
John Carlin and Dan Curtis had a very interesting relationship.
Yes.
Dan Curtis, who was the creator, executive producer, and
later on the director.
yeah, later on the director. And he let John Carlin get away with a lot, and he gave him a lot of scenes by himself because he was so good at keeping the audience interested.
Yes.
And because of that, he gave him a lot of leeway in how he thought Willie should react to things.
Yes.
And I like that.
Yes. And, Dan Curtis and John Carlin, they were kind of friends.
Yeah.
I mean...
But he said about Dan Curtis was, John Carlin, by the way, a handshake from Dan Curtis was as good as a contract.
Because John Carlin never had a contract.
Yep.
He had a handshake. And he was on that show from...
Beginning to the end, basically.
Well, not the beginning, just when he got hired.
Yeah.
He was on the last episode.
Yeah.
4 years later.
He only missed, like a year of the show?
He missed a few months here and there. Plays, movies.
Yeah.
He had other things going, but he always went back to Dark Shadows, I think because he loved the freedom.
Oh, yeah.
He loved the freedom to yell. He's actually said this before. He loved the freedom to just act the way you want to act. Mm-hmm. And, of course, he had that freedom because Dan Curtis loved the way he wanted to act.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, they had a very good relationship, and that shows up here.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was Monday's episode. Tuesday's episode, Jason is trying to discover Willie's secret treasure hunt, and a mysterious stranger will introduce himself to Collinwood. Episode 211 was aired on April 19th, 1967, and we have a new writer and a new director. Mm-hmm. The writer is Ron Sproat, which he was a magnificent writer for Barnabas, even though Barnabas is barely in this one. Again.
Yeah.
But he was a magnificent writer for him. I really like the way he writes Barnabas. Mm. And the director is John Sedgwick, which he's another one from the earlier episodes, of course, because Barnabas has only been on the show for 2 days. Mm-hmm. But he's also a good director.
Yes.
I like him a lot.
Me too. John Carlin's absence in this episode was interesting, probably because he's recovering from whatever Barnabas did to him.
Well,
Sucking
Willie
blood.
is.
Well,
so
yeah, Willie is, sorry.
He was written out of the script for a few days.
Yeah, because he has to recover from whatever Barnabas was doing to him or getting from him or something.
Yes, and the first scene, which we won't show here because it's a carryover from the last episode, because John Carlin wasn't in this episode and they weren't going to bring him in again just to redo the scene that they've already done.
Yeah.
Now, this episode is a kinescope.
Yep.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what kinescopes are, they're a film copy of the master video, which means that the audio quality is sometimes not that great. The video quality is kind of washed out looking. You can really tell what a kinescope looks like, from if you're watching in between episodes. Yep. And they're in black and white, which you can't really tell when you're watching these black and white episodes, but if you're watching a color episode of Dark Shadows and there's a kinescope in the middle of that, you can really tell that it's a kinescope.
It's easy to tell.
Yes. But this episode, they really cleaned it up. John?
Yes. It does look a lot better than the rest of them by far. Still kinescope, though. Not the nicest to look at, but the story makes up for it, so it makes it okay.
And they really cleaned it up because it is Jonathan Frid's first real appearance.
It is, and they really wanted to emphasize that it was important.
Yes.
Which is nice.
Yes. So, the clip that we're going to see here has Dennis Patrick as Jason McGuire, and it also introduces, well, it isn't really introducing her. We're introducing her to you, those of you who are watching Dark Shadows on the net, to Mrs. Johnson.
Yes, Mrs. Johnson, the religious woman.
No, she's not. Well, she kind of is
religious.
Yes.
Every character she plays is highly religious.
But this one's the best one of them.
Yeah, it is. She's the nicest one comparatively, which, is kind of interesting. Because none of them are that nice. A lot of them are kind of cranky.
But Mrs. Johnson is nice.
Yeah, she ends up being a lot nicer.
Anyway.
When she gets her resolution from Bill Malloy's death.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Here is the clip of Jason and Mrs. Johnson in the foyer discussing Willie.
Pause for a second.
In a way, I'll be sorry to see him go.
Now, I find that hard to believe.
Well, make no mistake, I disapprove of him thoroughly. But sometimes I like talking to him.
Talking.
That's
To
right.
Willie.
That's right. He was interested in things, and sometimes I didn't approve of the things that he was interested in, but sometimes I like telling him things.
What kind of things, Mrs. Johnson?
Well, family things.
You and Willie discussed your family.
Oh, not my family. You wouldn't get 2 words out of me about my family. No, this family, the Collins family.
Oh. And what would you talk about, the two of you?
Well, we didn't talk so much as that he asked me questions.
What kind of questions?
Well, about things like family history.
Well, now, that's a whole new facet of my friend. I find that terribly interesting. What did he ask you?
Well, actually, one of his favorite subjects was this young man here in the portrait.
Oh, yes, I know. Willie was very impressed with it.
Yes, he asked me all kinds of questions about him. What his name was, who he was.
It's a portrait of Barnabas Collins, isn't it?
That's right. And your Mr. Loomis seemed real sorry when I told him that he had gone to England and died there.
Barnabas died in England. And Willie was sorry.
So it seems. Maybe there's good left in him yet.
Well, as I'm sure there is in all of us. What else did he ask you?
About Barnabas?
Well, about Barnabas. About the painting. About anything.
Mr. McGuire.
What? Sorry, Mrs. Johnson, I didn't mean to be abrupt. After all, it's hardly important one way or the other. I've known Willie to, well, have strange fancies before.
Do you know what I think really fascinated him the most about that portrait?
What?
It's a pity to say it, but it's the truth. The jewels. That ring and the pin and that other thing he's got on there. I think your Mr. Loomis would like to see that ring up close. The real one, that is.
Yes, this is quite extraordinary. Did anything else fascinate Willie?
He was very interested in the legend. Not that I believe in legends.
Oh, what legend?
Well, that some of the Collins family had their jewels buried with them.
Buried? With them?
Yes, according to the legend, especially the Naomi Collins legend.
Oh, now what was that one?
Well, she was given jewels by a pirate, and she wore them to her grave. Did you ever hear a thing like that?
No, it doesn't seem very likely, does it?
It's nonsense.
Mrs. Johnson, where was this woman buried?
Well, that's what your friend asked me.
Willie did? And what did you tell him? That she was buried with the rest of the family?
No, that's the strange thing. She was buried in that little cemetery 5 miles north of here, Eagle Hill. Why did you want to know?
Curiosity.
Huh? There's too many people curious about such things.
Oh, yes, I agree with you.
I like your hat.
Oh, thank you. I manifested it. It's quite easy.
Of course.
It's very interesting that in the show, Jason and Liz are actually constantly at odds, and they're always technically fighting, but they're hiding it.
Yes.
While backstage, they were actually really good friends, and they really enjoyed working together.
Yes.
And that's what made their scene so good. They get so mad at each other, and keep that, like, each character has their own way of showing it.
Yeah.
Jason would visibly get frustrated. Liz might let her voice raise up a little bit, but she always has that retention.
Yes.
Like, she's always very reserved.
Yes. The funny thing is, Dennis Patrick was Joan Bennett's favorite acting partner on the show, and they were always fighting when they're together.
I know, and that's just so funny.
Yes. So, about Clarice Blackburn.
Ooh. Do you want to tell them who that is?
She's the woman who played Mrs. Johnson, and she is a very respected member of the acting community.
Mm-hmm.
She's a well-renowned theater actress, and she also was a writer later in her career for All My Children.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. She's a very versatile, member of the acting or not acting community, the theatrical community.
Mm-hmm.
And Alexandra Moldka, who played Victoria Winters, Clarice Blackburn was actually her favorite actress on the show.
I didn't know.
Because of her general professionalism that she carried over from, her work in theater. She always knew her lines. She never really, I don't think I've seen her really make a mistake. If she did, it was very,
Slight.
Yeah, like she might have stuttered or something.
Yeah, which is fine.
But she never really did that in the first place. She never would have cracked up. She was just she was there.
Mm-hmm.
All the way. She was Mrs. Johnson, or
She
she was Mrs. Trask later on, or she was Abigail.
She had a wide range that she adjusted to very well during the show.
Yes.
And I really like that too.
And I love what she's doing with her watch. She's talking to Jason, but she's also correcting her watch. She's looking at the clock. She's trying to have a doing, She's trying to do something that she would naturally do so that her dialogue comes off as more natural. And she's also doing something that Mrs. Johnson would do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's putting her more into the character and giving her a more natural way of responding to Jason.
Yes.
So that she's just not, saying my line, waiting for my line.
Yeah.
She's actually engaged in something.
Yeah, like she should be, because she was technically like the maid of the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Very
very
much.
much so.
And yes.
Mrs. Johnson's wig, she wore a wig. That wasn't her natural hair. She had red hair. But she knew that they were looking for a Mrs. Danvers type for the housekeeper for Collinwood.
Mm-hmm.
So she got the wig herself when she auditioned. She auditioned with the wig.
That's
and
good.
she got the part.
Nice.
Not that the wig would take all the credit, because Clarice Blackburn is amazing. Was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's those little things make it that much more apparent that she loves doing what she does. She loved being Mrs. Johnson. You can see that because Mrs. Johnson is kind of the comedic relief.
In a way.
For a lot of ways. Like, she's always griping about something. She's cynical.
She's cynical. Very
She's
cynical.
She's outrageous.
Got it. The portrait was very interesting because it's not just Barnabas, it's also...
You mean Jonathan Frid?
Jonathan Frid. It's also Robert Costello.
Who is the producer of the show.
Because I was going to say because they hadn't finished it yet because they didn't know who was going to be playing the part, so they used his body but put in his face and hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or just his face.
Oh, just his face? I thought his hands too. So just his face, but the rest of it is...
Is Robert Costello.
Yeah, it's Robert Costello, which is kind of funny.
I know. I mean, that portrait lasts, again, for
the entire series.
And it's just, Jonathan Frid is just in the face. And you can kind of see that when they make the next portrait of Barnabas Collins, which happens in this storyline as well. And they look different.
The body, especially, yes.
Well, also the shape of the head. Because we had Robert Costello's head with Jonathan Frid's face.
And talking about inconsistency, that's kind of funny. The Eagle Hill Cemetery that somehow manages to move from being around 5 miles away from the place to being right next door.
I know. Like here, Mrs. Johnson says, "Oh, it's at cemetery 5 miles north of here, Eagle Hill." Where in a year, it's going to be, the Collins family owns Eagle Hill Cemetery. Because it's right in their backyard. Well, it can't be right in their backyard if it's 5 miles north.
But that would
another
imply...
town.
Yeah, that implies they own a huge amount of real estate.
It also implies that people can walk there pretty fast.
Yeah, no, they can't.
Anyway, here's another clip It has Jason in it again.
Nice.
And speaking of comedic relief, here is Jason McGuire and the Eagle Hill Cemetery caretaker. Let's enjoy.
Who's there?
Only the dead. Now go away.
Oh. I'm looking for someone.
Oh, no, the living must leave. They must never come here again.
A young man. Now, he may have been here.
He should never have come here. I should never have let him stay.
Then someone was here. Yeah. Now, was he a young man?
The last living man I'll ever allow here. No one may ever come here again.
Look, old man. I don't know who you are, but if there was a young man here, I want to know when he was here and what he did and where he went.
Sacrilege. Disturbing the dead.
What are you talking about?
Criminal. That's what he is. Criminal.
What do you mean by that?
He pretended to be someone he wasn't.
Oh, well, if that were a crime, we'd all be in jail. Now, what did he want here? What did he do?
He said he was a Collins, but I knew he wasn't.
He told you he was a Collins?
He said he wanted to pay his respects. He had no respect.
Well, will you please tell me what he did?
Yes. Come with me. There, you see what he's done?
No, I don't see anything.
Don't you see? The door is open. The lock is broken.
Did someone break in there?
The young man you described.
How do you know? Did you see him?
If I'd seen him, he wouldn't have done it. I thought he'd gone away, but he hadn't gone away.
This place, does it belong to the Collins family?
Yes. Joshua and Naomi Collins, and one of the children. Another child, a son, is buried in England, they say.
Well, now, is that all that happened? Just the lock broken?
He should never have gone inside.
Why? What's in there?
The dead, asleep and at peace.
And is that all?
Evil hovers there. Can't you feel it?
No, I can't say that I do. Well, is that all that happened now? Just the lock broken? I mean, nothing inside was disturbed, was it?
Yes.
What? You mean that somebody disturbed the coffin?
No, nothing that profane, but the dead were disturbed, I can tell.
Do you mind if I go in there?
Oh, please, you mustn't.
Why? Why not?
I told you, evil is in there.
Well, supposing I just take my chances.
Oh, no, for your own sake. No, we shouldn't be in here. Can't you feel it?
Ah, these are the tombs, huh? Of Joshua and Naomi Collins.
Yes, there is the child Sarah.
Well, I don't see what you're so excited about. Nothing in here seems to be disturbed.
Someone was in here. Something happened here. We mustn't stay.
Naomi Collins. Now, wasn't she the woman who was supposed to be buried with all of her jewelry?
That's the question he asked me. The man who was here last night.
Oh? Well, what did you tell him?
Oh, no, I can't answer any more questions.
Well, I don't think you have to. And obviously, you have nothing to worry about in here. Everything seems to be perfectly normal. A little damp, perhaps, but that can't be helped.
Can't you feel anything in the air?
I can't even feel the air. Now, look, tell me this. Where would this young man go after he left here?
I don't know. I didn't see him.
Well, then, isn't it quite possible that he wasn't here in the first place?
Oh, but someone was here. The lock was broken. It must have been him.
If he'd been here, there'd be more evidence than that.
What do you mean?
He's not the kind to get this far and then just stop.
Stop what?
Nothing. The important thing is that I'm satisfied that he was not here. Thanks for the tour.
Well, now, you tell him he must never come here again.
Well, I was just telling you that he wasn't the one that was here. He was here.
Yes. Yes, I must try to mend this lock.
Yes, you do that.
Tell your friend never to come here again.
I just told you. He wasn't the one that was here.
Yeah, when that mausoleum when he broke the mausoleum door,
The lock?
the lock.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny because he wasn't even trying to be quiet.
Well, of course not.
Well, you know, there were guards in cemeteries and stuff.
But the funny thing about that lock, it's never ever fixed.
Yeah.
It's just like the door's flying open all the time. No one bothers to change the lock.
They fix it eventually, isn't it?
Yeah.
When Chris turns into the werewolf, and that's in 69, 19?
Yeah, it's 1969. It takes them 2 years to fix a lock.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know who fixes it? Willie.
Yeah. What goes around comes around.
Now, let's talk about the caretaker.
Of the graveyard?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was played by Daniel Keyes. And in a year, not even a year, in a few months from this, he actually got fired and replaced. For the same reason that a couple actors from the show, you know, not main actors, more supporting actors like the caretaker, were fired because the writers were on strike and they refused to cross the picket line, and Dan Curtis decided to fire them.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is really sad because we lost a lot of good actors from that.
Yeah. Not one of the highlights of Dan Curtis's career. The caretaker had some funny conversations with some of the people. Like he kind of seemed like he was like a dazed old man that didn't really understand anything.
But he thought that ghosts were everywhere.
Yeah, and he was right in those situations.
It's because he's alone with the dead.
In a
all
graveyard,
the time.
and all he has to do is read books about dead people.
I know.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, just like you need some human contact. Like he was so desperate for them to stay.
I know.
It just made you feel sad.
I know. But still, everyone, even Barnabas, ends up calling him old man.
Yeah. Barnabas, you're over 100 years old at this point. Who you call an old man?
Well, the caretaker acts like a decrepit old man.
He's kind of losing his mind.
Yeah. And did you notice, this is the second time that we've seen the mausoleum.
Oh.
Did you notice the texture? You can actually see the texture of the set.
Yeah.
I think that that's a wonderful design of the set, and that is all thanks to Cy Tomashoff, the set designer of Dark Shadows. He really made sure that it wasn't, you know, back in those days, the sets for TV shows weren't really in-depth. It could have been cardboard.
Yeah.
But he made sure for it to really seem like, oh, it's a grand house. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a real mausoleum made out of stone, even when it wasn't.
Yeah.
He put the time and effort into creating these wonderful sets.
Yes, he did. They were wonderful sets. Didn't they burn down a couple of them?
One of them did. We'll discuss that later on in the show, though. Alright, so the next clip is again with Mrs. Johnson, and she's talking to Elizabeth.
Yes, and
it segues into Jonathan Frid's first spoken appearance.
Yes.
Let's watch.
Doesn't it seem strange that Mr. McGuire doesn't know where Mr. Loomis has disappeared, and they've been all but inseparable? I mean, I don't like to talk about people that are your good friends, but those two gentlemen, particularly Mr. Loomis, don't you find them a bit strange?
I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I don't like this Mr. Loomis disappearing like that. I think something's wrong, and I don't like it.
I don't think you need concern yourself about it, Mrs. Johnson. Now, I have some work to do before dinner. I'm going up to my room. I don't want to be disturbed. But let me know if Mr. Loomis turns up.
Yes, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Nobody hangs up a thing around here. Yes?
I'd like to see Mrs. Stoddard, if you'd be so kind.
Mrs. Stoddard?
This is Collinwood, isn't it?
Yes.
And the mistress here is Mrs. Elizabeth Collins Stoddard, is she not?
Yes.
Then perhaps you'd do me the courtesy to inform Mrs. Stoddard that her cousin is calling and wishes to pay his respects.
Her cousin?
Yes, her cousin from England.
From England? Oh, please, come in.
I'd be delighted, thank you.
Oh, would you like to wait in the drawing room?
Here would be fine, thank you.
Oh, well, I'll let Mrs. Stoddard know you're here.
Oh, madam, if you would, you may tell her that it's Barnabas Collins.
Mrs. Johnson's such a gossip. Like she tries, like, remember what she says, like, I'm not a gossip, I keep to myself, I blah 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 blah.
But
did you hear about what blah? And you're just like, really, Miss Johnson? After all that, you know, doing that, and you're also working for
Collinwood.
yeah. It's just
Yeah, and she's even gossiping with Elizabeth.
yeah. It's incredible. But it's funny and it's good comedic relief.
Yeah. Also, what's funny about Mrs. Johnson, as mentioned before, her griping, well, you can plainly see in this scene, she's griping about having to pick up other people's clothes, which is kind of what she has to do anyway.
Yeah, but you know, if you got a bitch, you got a bitch. But and Barnabas' hat.
I know. The hat we see in this
Once.
episode and in another one.
Also
Twice.
Yeah.
We see this hat twice. Why did he have to wear a hat?
They probably stopped making him wear it because it messed up his hair.
Yeah, he has a very...
And you don't really see him much. You just see him turn around and that's it. And then it's over. And it leaves you wanting so much more for the next episode.
But I love how he turns around because it's right next to the portrait.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who it is.
Yeah.
Like, Barnabas Collins. Okay, well, we know there's a Barnabas Collins in the portrait.
Yes.
But you really see that it's him
Yes.
when he turns around and he's right next to the portrait.
Yes.
I love that part.
It is a wonderful part.
Yeah. So, that is our synopsis of our favorite scenes from that episode.
Yep.
And now we're moving on to Wednesday's episode, which is episode 212, in which the residents of Collinwood are surprised with this mysterious cousin from England, which we know is Barnabas Collins. This episode was aired on April 20th, 1967. And like I said, the residents of Collinwood are surprised with this. They actually get to meet him instead of just Mrs. Johnson.
Yeah.
And this episode is, again, written by Ron Sproat and directed by John Sedgwick, which sometimes the same writers and directors would do many episodes.
Yeah.
Of course, they were all filmed on separate days, but they'd be there for the majority of the week, like in this week. So, this first clip, again with Barnabas, like we said, the last episode left you wanting more, right?
Yes.
Well, now you get to see more.
Hooray.
You get to see Barnabas with Elizabeth, an actual member of the family.
Yeah.
So anyway, here is Barnabas's introduction to Elizabeth.
Forgive my curiosity, but I understood that Barnabas Collins, the son of Naomi and Joshua Collins, died a few years after he went to England.
Well, that's true, but apparently the family history didn't tell of his marriage and the fact that he had a son who proved to be my great-great-grandfather.
It's strange that no one ever heard of it.
Well, If one considers communications in those days, well, a family separated by great distances sometimes lost track of some of its members.
I suppose you're right. Shall we go into the drawing room?
Thank you.
So there's a whole branch of the Collins family flourishing in England, and I never knew it.
Flourishing may be hardly the word for it. Alas, I am the sole remaining member.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Have you no family of your own?
As yet, no.
But there's still hope.
Oh, there's always hope.
Anyone definite?
Not as yet.
Did you come to America to find a bride?
Well, that wasn't my sole purpose, but I don't rule it out as a possibility.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Shall we sit down?
Thank you.
What were your reasons for coming to America? Is it a business trip or just a visit? Forgive my asking all these questions.
Well, at the moment, I consider it a visit. But there's some likelihood that I may settle here permanently, in Collinsport.
I can hardly believe it. Another Collins, I can't tell you how pleased I am. Now, you're descended from Barnabas Collins, but the rest of the family, the whole history, I want to hear it. Please give me the details.
There's really very little to tell.
Oh, I doubt that.
Well, perhaps there's too much for this initial visit. After all, I only wanted to present myself and pay my respects.
Oh, but surely you'll stay for dinner.
Oh, I wouldn't want to impose on your time any further. I did come unannounced.
Oh, that doesn't matter. But please stay a little while longer. You have other cousins to meet. My brother Roger and his little boy David and my daughter Carolyn.
I look forward to it eagerly. But perhaps another time. I may come again, may I not?
Oh, certainly. And please don't feel that you have to be so formal.
You're very kind.
I realize I should ask you to stay here at Collinwood, but at the moment, the household is a little upset. We have temporary guests.
Oh, please, even to think of it is sufficient courtesy. But I think you'll realize when I say that I'd prefer more independent quarters.
I understand perfectly. But you must come again, and often.
I shall. I've always loved Collinwood. It's just as I remembered it.
Remember it? But you've never been here before.
But I feel as though I have. Descriptions, stories, they've all been handed down from generation to generation. And being here now is like returning to a memory from childhood. Oh, don't be surprised if I know Collinwood quite well. Even the old house near Widow's Hill, where our poor, unfortunate ancestors, Jeremiah and Josette Collins, lived for a time. And I understand that Joshua Collins, my direct ancestor, lived there with his family, even after this house was built.
Well, you certainly were well schooled in the family history.
I wouldn't be a Collins if I weren't. And I wouldn't be a Collins if I didn't recognize in my blood, in my soul, that my roots are here. And perhaps my destiny. Oh, forgive me. I tend at times to romanticize. Promise you'll pay no attention.
I understand.
Well, now I must go.
Oh, you must be tired after your trip.
Yes, it was a long and difficult journey.
You must be exhausted.
Like coming from one world to another.
Is life in England so different from it is here?
Oh, no, of course not. And yet, so much is so different. But Collinwood hasn't changed. I mean, from what I've always heard. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for that. How very grateful.
So, that was a wonderful scene.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Frid is amazing. Every single movement is precise, and it's captivating, even just the way he walks into a room, the way he looks at things.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
It is. And in the way he's looking at things is he's very interested in his surroundings because
Yes.
he wants to see what the Collins family is like now.
Yes. Of
And
course
that's-
we don't.
And the architecture, because he never got to see that building completed.
Yes, he did.
He did?
Yeah.
The new house?
Yes.
He saw it completed.
Yes.
No, because they were moving
Yes.
into it before it was completed.
No, they moved into it, and then he left to marry Angelique. He was living there for a little bit, like a week. Anyway, besides the point.
Yeah.
It's still different, because it's the 20th century.
Yeah. there's plumbing and electricity and
Yeah, you gotta imagine he's looking at everything, going, "How do light bulbs work?"
maybe Willie. I don't know if Willie could explain that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just amazing.
Mhm.
His performance is always top notch.
Yes. The emphasis on the ring seems to be important because that's basically one of the ways he legitimizes that he is the descendant of Barnabas Collins.
Yes, and it's also one of the ways that we know that he's the same person.
Yes, which
as
is
the
also
Christian.
implied. But you're not supposed to realize that yet.
Yeah, but still,
Mm-hmm.
they're setting it up very well.
Mhm.
Lots of emphasis on that ring.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And I love his explanation for his history to Elizabeth. You can see that Barnabas thinks fast on his feet,
Mm-hmm.
but he's giving little half-truths
Yeah.
all the time.
Well, he can't afford to tell them the whole truth, otherwise they figure
Well,
out what
no,
he is.
but he's saying some of the truth,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're going back and looking at it.
And you see a lot of his influences in Barnabas, especially his Shakespearean influences, because he makes Barnabas into a more tragic character.
Yes.
And that's a lot of his Shakespearean acting, because just to make him a villain was too boring for Barnabas. It's too easy
Yes.
just to be hard, just a
Yeah.
villain, like, with no reason or logic, just, a predator.
You
But when
mean
he
for
gave,
Jonathan Frost.
yeah, for Jonathan Frost, but he gave Barnabas a sense of humanity,
Yeah.
a sense of he was the tragic villain he didn't want to be, but he was forced to be.
Which he did in all of his characters that he played that
Yes.
were villainous.
Yes.
From Shakespeare on.
It makes him more interesting.
Yeah.
What's a character who's evil for the sake of evil is almost boring.
And he did the same thing with good characters. He didn't make them pure.
Yeah.
He put a little bit of humanity in them.
Yeah.
Just as he put a little bit of humanity into his villainous
Yes.
characters. Because that's really what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Are we gonna watch? Can I introduce the next clip?
of course.
For this next clip, we're going to be watching Vicky and David in the foyer. We're going to be, watching their interactions.
Now make sure that you get back here in time for dinner. Yesterday when you went out to play...
I forgot. I won't again.
Let's hope not. You know what it does to Mrs. Johnson.
Well, I don't think Mrs. Johnson was so angry about me being late. I think she was angry because Mr. Loomis didn't show up at all.
You just forget about Mr. Loomis and see to it that you get back here on time.
He didn't come back last night or today, did he?
No, he didn't.
Maybe he's gone for good.
Maybe.
You didn't like him, did you?
David, are you going out to play or aren't you?
Well, I sort of liked him. I sort of hope he comes back.
So, Vicky and David have come a long way.
Yeah.
From, David locking her up and...
Trying to, accuse her of murder.
Yeah.
Yes, that too. Also, just, scaring the living bejeebus out of her at every twist and turn. He only really started to like her when he realized she could see ghosts too.
Yes.
Yep.
But it's evolved past this
Yes,
point
it has.
now.
He actually likes her as a person.
Yes.
Yes.
And you can really see that.
Yeah, and David does a poor job of choosing of friends.
Yeah, his friend that he's most concerned about is Willie, which Willie has turned out not to be, a stand-up guy that David should be concerned about.
Yes, and David ends up getting hurt pretty hard by that.
Yeah.
And also, Willie, since you bring him up, is the link between Barnabas and Elizabeth and Jason now.
Yes.
It sets up this system where Barnabas can get information on almost everyone now.
Yes.
Because Willie can be everywhere at once, and since Willie and Jason are confidants with each other, Barnabas can get all the information about that from Willie, which he gets pissed off when he finds out.
Yes. So, David leaves the house.
Yes.
And he's going out to play.
Mm-hmm.
And who should he perchance meet?
Barnabas.
Yes. At the old house.
Hooray.
The wonderful old house set.
Yep.
So, let us watch this interaction.
2. Who's there?
Barnabas.
Barnabas Collins?
You recognize me?
Oh, well, yes. I've seen your portrait a million times.
My portrait? You mean my ancestor's portrait, don't you?
You mean you're not the man from the portrait in the foyer?
How could I be?
You mean you're not a ghost?
Do you really think I am?
Of course.
I'm not sure I believe you, David.
How do you know my name?
Your Aunt Elizabeth told me I had a cousin named David.
Cousin? No kidding, you're my cousin? And you're not a ghost?
Well, if I were a ghost, would you be talking to me so calmly?
Yes, I would. I've talked to ghosts before.
You have?
Yes, right here in this house. And when you came in, I thought I was seeing another ghost.
I'm sorry to disappoint you.
That's okay. So you're really my cousin?
That's right. Now tell me more about those ghosts.
Well, my favorite one, of course, is Josette. That's her picture there.
Our ancestor from over 100 years ago.
That's right.
And she actually appeared to you and talked to you?
Yes, and even now I know when she's here, in the room.
Oh?
The picture glows, and the air smells like jasmine. And if you think very, very hard, you can get some kind of message. Do you want to try it right now?
I don't think so.
You're not afraid, are you?
Well, perhaps I am.
Don't be. She wouldn't hurt you. She'd help you. You know, kind of protect you. Especially if you're Collins.
I'll have to remember that.
Would you want me to show you around?
Oh, thank you, but that won't be necessary.
But there are thousands of secret passageways upstairs.
I know.
You know? You mean you've been here before?
No, but as I explained to your aunt, I heard so many stories about Collinwood when I was a child that I feel I've been here all my life.
Well, what about the passageway that leads to a little room on top of the roof?
A winding staircase.
That's right.
And a view of the sea beyond Widow's Hill.
You've got it perfect. And do you know what that room's best for?
Looking at the sea.
Yes. But at sunrise, when the sun comes over the ocean, everything begins to change color. Right in front of your eyes.
Sunrise?
I come out here sometimes early in the morning, before anybody knows I'm awake. Would you like to come with me sometime?
Perhaps. Sometime. Sunrise.
You've never seen anything like it.
I'm sure.
What's the matter?
Why, nothing. What makes you ask?
For a minute, you seemed sort of sad. Like you were remembering something that you'd lost a long, long time ago.
But I haven't lost anything.
I was talking about a sunrise. Maybe it was a sunrise that you saw, only at your home. And it makes you sad to think about it.
Perhaps.
Do you miss your home?
I did for a long time. But I don't anymore.
But that was scary.
Not so much scary, just intense.
Yeah, it was very intense because David looked terrified.
At first.
Yeah. But then, he says, I'm just your, uncle, you'll be fine.
Cousin,
you'll be fine, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just looking at the old house, because isn't it beautiful, David? Yeah, it's beautiful. I want to redo it.
Well, he hasn't said that yet.
But he wants to. And they're both interested in the portrait of Josette. And that's what Barnabas likes too.
Yes.
Except he goes on a tirade about it, and David's just like, okay.
Doesn't really go on a tirade about it.
Oh, is that later? That's later with Maggie. Or, no, who was it with? Maybe it was with Willie in the room. So actually a funny story about some of the sets for the old house was they made, when they trashed it for certain scenes, they had them stored like that. Yes?
It was already trashed.
Yeah, but they stored it, and they were going to use it. And when the executives were going through all the sets, they're like, well, these look like trash, go burn them. So they burned some of the sets for dark shows, and they had to scramble to rebuild them.
Yeah, because as you can see, the old house set in the beginning, before Barnabas, does a makeover for it, it has cobwebs, broken windows, it's
boards
dirty.
Are hanging down.
Yeah, it's dusty. It looks like a
like
set that's never been used for a while, and it's great because the old house is supposed to be trash.
Yes.
But the executives thought that,
no one was using it.
Yeah, because it had cobwebs on it.
Yeah.
Even though I would think that they would notice that they were fake.
Yeah.
But
they're executives.
Yeah, I guess. So, you really see David's fixation on ghosts. David has
you already had this fixation for a while.
Well, yeah, but for those of you that have not watched Dark Shadows as of yet, except for this show, David has a fixation on ghosts. Has had since day one.
Mm-hmm.
He has ghost friends. He thinks Barnabas is a ghost, and he's kind of disappointed when he's not, because he thinks ghosts are cool.
Yeah.
Ghosts are his friends. And Josette is his favorite ghost.
And Josette and Barnabas are connected, and Josette's a connection to Barnabas' past.
Yes, because Josette was Barnabas' lost love, but of course David doesn't know that.
For good reasons.
Yes. But Josette has always helped David, helped any member of the family.
And protected them.
Yeah.
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 And it's the first clue to Barnabas' true nature is when the sun starts rising?
No. When he says sunrise.
When he says sunrise.
Yeah, because of David's story.
Yes.
About the little room in the old house that of course he knows about because he grew up there.
Yeah.
But you can really see the sunrise there, and you can tell he misses it.
Yes,
he
of course.
misses the sunrise, and it's kind of sad.
It is.
And, David is very observant of that. David notices that Barnabas is sad. David is really a very observant kid, but he's just not a very good judge of character.
No, he's a terrible judge of character. Why don't we give a look at Barnabas' soliloquy when he's, because it gives us a deeper insight into his character.
Yes, and it's wonderful.
Yes, it is.
I was a Collins. Why didn't you protect me? Where were you when I was turned into something that even my own father loathed? If his ghost is here with yours, tell him I've come home. I claim this house as mine. And whatever power you or he may have is ended. I am free now and alive. The chains with which he bound me are broken. And I've returned to live the life I never had. Whatever that may turn out to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was really sad.
It was, but I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just a really good scene.
It is.
When he's talking up to the portrait of Josette.
Because it shows his longing for her. It shows his detachment from the past. He's in a new century, so there's new hope too.
Yeah.
And he has that feeling that, he can make something of this.
But he doesn't know when it's
How.
going to be.
Yeah, he doesn't know what's going to happen or when it's going to happen.
Yes.
And that changes a lot of how he ends up being a part of that world.
Yes. So, that is our synopsis of episode 212. Now, for episode 213, which would have been Thursday's show, I guess the writers noticed that they were kind of falling behind in their Jason and Elizabeth drama.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing in a sense because they're introducing an entire character, an entire storyline. A character that's going to be, influential in the rest of the series, although they don't know that yet.
Yeah.
But still, they realize, of course, that they need to get back to Jason and Elizabeth.
Yes.
So this episode is more on that drama. And
Sorry.
there's an emphasis on Carolyn Stoddard, which we have not seen. Of course, earlier on, yes, she's in the show, but we haven't seen her yet this week.
Mm-hmm.
And she's growing more suspicious of the relationship between Jason and Elizabeth.
Yes, she is, for sure. And she's trying to get more information from her mother and from
Yes.
Jason when she can.
Yes. And again, this episode, written by Ron Sproat, directed by John Sedgwick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, let's see our first clip from this episode. Has Carolyn walking in on an argument that's going on between Jason and Liz.
No.
It isn't possible for anyone to get into this house at night. The doors are all securely locked.
Willie has a way of getting past locks.
Says a great deal about him.
Well, I'm not at all sure it was Willie who was in here.
Well, who would want his clothes?
I don't know. I just know that whoever got in here went to a great deal of trouble to remain hidden. Now, why should Willie hide? Especially from me.
Maybe he simply decided to leave.
Without the money, he'd never do that.
Oh, that reminds me. You owe me $500.
Oh? Do I now?
I gave you the money to get rid of Willie, but you're keeping it.
Well, I'm holding it for him.
How long do you intend to go on holding it?
Until I find him. And I intend to find him.
I hope you never find him. I hope I never see him again.
Now, Liz, you should be as anxious to find Willie as I am.
Why?
Because he can cause a great deal of trouble for both of us.
How much have you told him?
About the basement. Nothing.
Are you telling the truth?
Of course I'm telling you the truth. Now, you'll just have to take my word for it.
Jason, I'm warning you, I can only stand
Mother.
some... Carolyn,
What were you arguing about?
we weren't arguing, darling.
Well, it sounded like an argument to me. I heard you say you could only
We
stand...
weren't having an argument. We were simply discussing something.
What?
It really doesn't concern you, Carolyn.
In other words, mind your own business.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
Carolyn, please.
Please what? Please mind your own business. Please go away. All right, Mother. All right, I'll go.
Liz. Let her go. Right now. She's the least of your worries.
Willie is a major part of the story even when he's not around.
I know.
He's just so, what's the word, notorious. He just, even when he's not around, people are nervous about where he could be.
Which, we really have... There's really good reason for them to be nervous because someone broke into the house and stole Willie's clothes.
Yeah, and who are you gonna blame? Willie.
Yeah, who else would want his clothes? I mean, let's be honest.
And because of this, because of what's going on between all of them, Carolyn and Elizabeth's relationship is deteriorating.
Yes.
Because she can't trust her mom because she's seeing her mom being domineered by this man, so she has no respect for her mother.
Yes.
And this causes her also to act out.
Yep. Which we see. Oh, you're not going to tell me, what I want to know? That means that you don't want me around. And she storms away. And Jason encourages Liz to let Carolyn do these things, which is further creating a barrier in between them.
Yeah, and that's what he wants, because he wants a house divided.
And this deteriorating relationship is actually, the driving force for a lot of this drama, because if no one cared, except for Liz and Jason, there would be kind of a dull drama because no one would care.
Yeah.
But the entire family is concerned.
Yeah.
Carolyn the most because it's her mother.
Yes. And, but one thing that I find interesting is Roger suspected something from the beginning.
Well, of course, because Jason isn't, hoity-toity.
Yes. Joe and Burke become... Clip. Let's watch Joe, Burke, and Carolyn at the Blue Whale. Wouldn't that be fun? Have some good drinks.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
watch.
And how's Maggie?
Never better. I'm picking her up in a couple of minutes.
And it seems to me I see you two together everywhere.
That's the way I like it.
Do I smell orange blossom?
Well, it could be in the not-too-distant future.
That's good, Joe. Here's to you and Maggie.
I'll drink to that. Hey, Carolyn. Hi.
Hi.
Hello, Carolyn. How have you been? Well, I suppose I deserve that.
Well, you're not going to get any arguments from me.
All right, so I was a heel. What am I supposed to do about it now?
You really want an answer to the question?
If there is an answer.
You might try telling her you're sorry.
What good would that do?
Well, it might make you feel a lot better. It might clear the air.
I doubt that. I doubt if she'd even listen to me.
She listened to me.
You?
You think it was so easy for us to become friends? Well, we are, because we both made the effort. It could be the same with you. Unless, of course, you're not sorry for what you did to him.
Of course I'm sorry. He's a nice kid. I'm sorry I hurt her.
Well, then tell her you're sorry. It's worth trying.
Okay. Carolyn,
What is it?
could I buy you a drink?
Why?
I'd like to talk to you. There's something I want to say to you.
I don't think I'd be interested in anything you might have to say.
Well, please let me say it anyway.
Burke, please. I'm tired. I'm upset about something, and I really don't feel like talking. Please, just go away. Please.
Okay. Nothing. No soap.
Let me talk to her. Mind if I sit down?
I guess not.
How are you?
Worried. Miserable. Scared.
Oh, why?
Because of Mother and Jason and things that are going on up at Collinwood that I don't understand. I can't talk about it, Joe.
Okay. Okay, sometimes it's better not to talk.
Yes, it is.
Look, if there's anything I could do to help out, just let me know.
Thank you.
What for? We're friends, aren't we?
Speaking of friendship, you and Burke seem to be getting pretty chummy.
Oh, we're sort of friendly. There's no reason why we shouldn't be now.
No. No, I suppose not.
No use being bitter about the past. Doesn't pay off.
I know there's no reason for you to be jealous of Burke anymore.
No. And there's no reason for you to be mad or jealous or anything else. And there's no reason why you and Devlin couldn't be friends.
There are a million reasons, and you know it.
You could at least talk
I
to
don't
him.
want to talk to him.
Carolyn, you're acting like a spoiled brat.
What?
No, I mean it. This is this business of I don't want to talk to him. That's kindergarten stuff. I thought you were better than that.
Did it ever occur to you that I might be afraid to talk to him?
Why?
I was in love with him.
Yeah, I know.
And in a way,
You still are?
yes. I don't want to be, but I can't help it.
Well, I can understand that.
And I'm afraid that
But he doesn't feel the same way about you.
Joe, I know he was using me. I know it. And yet underneath it all, I kept hoping that maybe he really cared for me. More than he knew. He couldn't have pretended at all, could he? What do you think?
I think that I'm the last guy in the world to know the answer to that question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't ask you. But I can't stop hoping. I can't.
Well, then maybe you'd better just find out where you stand once and for all.
What if I'm wrong? What if there isn't any hope?
Well, at least you know.
But I'm afraid to know.
Well, don't be afraid. Go, talk to him and find out. Listen, believe me, it's the best way.
Maybe. But I'm still afraid.
Look, Carolyn, I've got to go meet Maggie now, but... Listen, think about what I said, will you?
Say hello to Maggie for me.
Sure. I'll see you.
Yes, see you. Hello, Burke.
Hello.
Does the offer of a drink still go?
Bartender?
Joe and Burke are now friends. Never thought I'd see that. Remember when he decked him?
Yeah, some background.
Yeah.
Joe was going out with Carolyn. He's not anymore.
Yep.
But she was trying to get with Burke while she was with Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe and Burke were enemies. Now they're friends again because Carolyn's kind of out in the picture, left out in the cold.
Yeah. And Joe and Burke end up actually realizing they have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
They're both go-getters. They both want their own lives.
Yeah.
They want to be their own boss.
Yeah.
And that's really cool that you can see those characters actually develop right in front of you with the Blue Whale. Blue Whale is actually a central part of a lot of storylines.
Yes. And, you know, this episode is the episode that wraps up this triangle.
Yes,
because,
thank God.
you know, Joe and Burke have made up. They're great friends. Carolyn is kind of the only one that has a problem with Burke.
Yeah.
Even though she and Joe are friends.
Yeah.
So this is kind of helping them get over what happened, which is basically Burke using her.
Yeah, which, Burke, actually, the funny thing is Burke told her the entire time.
I know, and she just decided not to believe it.
Yeah, because she thought, who would be that obvious?
Burke.
Yeah, because he knew he could be.
Yeah. But anyway, this ends that tired old drama.
Yes.
And we can move on with our lives.
Yes. Background of Joel Carruthers' acting career. He's quite experienced.
Yeah, he started acting when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And by this point, he's had tons of experience under his belt.
Yes, he has, and he's an alcoholic beyond belief.
No.
No?
No.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh. But it happens.
Later on in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a very experienced actor, and you can really see that.
Mm-hmm.
He's wonderful. And Carolyn, the woman who plays Carolyn, Nancy Barrett,
mm-hmm.
she and Joel knew each other from before.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were actually really good friends, which accounts for their chemistry as friends. And even when they were together, they had that chemistry because they were such great friends. And that really shines through. Like, Joe's giving her advice the way that a friend would give her.
Yes, but she never listens.
Advice. She kind of does, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. She takes the advice.
Okay.
This time.
This time.
This time she takes the advice. Other times, not so much, but this time she's taking it.
And, one thing I do like about how they always kind of center these scenes in the Blue Whale music. It's very fun and kind of just, most of it's fun and kind of light, and you get a sense that it's a nice atmosphere to be at most of the time until someone from, Collinwood shows up and something bad happens.
Yeah, in this scene, you get a good mixture of Robert Cobert and standard music.
Yes.
Like, music that they'd have to pay royalties on.
Yes,
of course,
they
later,
didn't want to do that.
Yeah, they didn't want to. That's why later on they really don't. They just use Cobert's, preordained music. Yeah. And Burke and Carolyn, in this last part of the scene, to me, they're kind of 40s, 50s-esque, and I think that's a lot of Mitch Ryan coming through. So, now we're on to Friday's episode, episode 214. The exciting conclusion of the first week of Barnabas. Now, in this one, we start out with Barnabas giving Vicky a tour.
Yes. Of the old house.
Yes.
And it's very interesting because, let's watch the clip first, actually.
Yeah. Let's do that.
The door has a tendency to stick.
Now, how could you know that if you've never been here until this visit?
I haven't actually. But I know every inch of it.
But how?
Oh, from old letters and family journals. From my youth spent listening to my elders speak of the past.
This house has a great many stories to tell.
Yes, and I know all of them in detail.
It must have been a very beautiful house.
Yes, it was. And it's now more beautiful than ever.
But it's all falling apart.
It will be a long time before this house falls apart. It was made to last forever.
But nothing lasts forever.
Ooh, well, let's see about that. What about the pyramids of Egypt?
You've got me there. But you can't compare the pyramids to this house.
Why can't I?
Because they were built to last indefinitely.
And how long is indefinitely?
Well, some of them have lasted for 5,000 years.
Some longer than that. But tell me the difference between forever and indefinitely.
Well, forever is something that never ends. And indefinitely is something that will end at some time.
Very good. You're a bright girl, Miss Winters.
Thank you.
In a way, you can compare the pyramids to this house. Both were built to support an ego and perpetuate a memory, but both merely survived as architectural feats.
Oh, but to me, this house has always been a reminder of the enterprise of the people who settled here.
Yes, in a way, you're right. The design and construction of this house represented a marriage of the elegance of Europe and the vigor and enterprise of the New World. The foundations were made from rocks left behind by glaciers thousands of years ago. The beams and supports
were cut from ancient local forests. The plaster walls were made from crushed clamshells and horsehair. Bricks were imported from Holland. That dusty chandelier, brought over from France, gleamed with hypnotic brilliance. That faded wallpaper was especially designed by a Belgian artist. The parquet floors were installed by an Italian craftsman. Cornices and moldings were the effort of a Spanish craftsman. It was a house to be envied by a prince. But in spite of all this, the total effort was an agony to man. Men were driven to their limits. What should have been an act and labor of love became a hateful thing. There were the crippled and the dead. Like the pyramids, one could ask, was it worth it?
You paint a very dismal picture.
Oh, it is the only true one. The beautiful exterior belied the hatred and distrust that lived beneath this roof. Nothing was ever real here. And the love and happiness that one would expect was never lived in the lives of those who lived here.
Was it really that bad?
Yes, this room saw much hatred, saw families divide and devour each other. On this stairs, a father and son hurled words at each other, words that would lead to the death of the son. The death? Oh, forgive me. Nothing that ever happened here was funny.
Well, you've made your point in comparing this house to the pyramids. But there is one difference between them. The pyramids were designed to be tombs.
You're right. This house was not designed to be a tomb.
Nice.
So
it's interesting because it's kind of creepy because there's this sinister vibe under everything Barnabas says.
I know.
And he writes it off because he says he knows the family history through diaries.
Yeah.
But it's just that there's that sense of he was there, and
Yes.
and Vicky gets that feeling. She even asks him. She asks him at one point. It was like you were there, and he's like, "Oh, I just have a connection with the past."
Yeah. But I have a question. Has Barnabas been staying at the old house this entire time? She's looking for David.
No, because he tells them he's staying in town.
I know, but she's just looking for David, and he comes downstairs.
Well, you could write off as he was just looking around.
I know, but I mean, really, has he been staying there?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean.
It's the only explanation, and you know, the kind of fun thing is you kind of see Barnabas' prejudices towards women.
Yes.
Like with Vicky.
Yeah, like, you're a very bright girl. Like, he doesn't expect her to be.
Well, when you have someone like, Josette, kind of happens. And it's interesting because he makes comparisons to the old house and the pyramids in the sense of their eternalness.
Yes.
Which is not true. The old house turned to shit after a century.
But it's still standing. That's
still
what he's
standing,
saying.
but a century compared to pyramids of thousands of years.
Yes.
But I understand the draw he's trying to make, or the connection he's trying to make.
Also,
but still. Yes.
The way that the pyramids were erected, he made the comparison. Lots of deaths.
Yes.
Lots of violence. Lots of hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of animosity towards
the Collinses.
The Collinses.
And what they were was money and power.
Yes. And that kind of sheds a different light on Collinwood and the people that live there.
Yes.
That maybe they weren't nice.
And you show that the town has reasons to fear them and not want to be around them.
Yes, which carries over into the 20th century.
Yes.
In this clip, Roger returns from a business trip. Very interesting.
Hi, Uncle Roger.
Well, hello, kitten. How's my favorite niece?
Your only niece. How was your trip?
Well, business, but it was good to get away from here for a while.
And how was Boston?
Oh, same old town. Oh, New England chowder and Indian pudding. I brought a recipe for the pudding back to Mrs. Johnson, but I really don't think it'll do any good.
You just reminded me of something.
What of?
When I was a little girl, you always used to bring me something from your trips.
Well, I tried, so I did.
Oh, I used to look forward to your coming home. I guess you were the only father I knew.
And now I'm reduced to bringing back recipes for Indian pudding to Mrs. Johnson. I don't suppose you think she doesn't think that I'll be a father image to her, do you? Well, now, how is your mother feeling?
Oh, physically, she's improved tremendously. Back to her old, energetic self.
Oh, that's good news.
But there is something bothering her. And it has to do with Jason McGuire.
Well, that's bad news. All right, kitten. I'll get out my score pad, and you can catch me up on the number of guests we have now ensconced here.
Well, Jason is still here.
Check.
But Willie Loomis has gone.
Oh, bravo. You can't keep the jet set down, can you? Did he accept an invitation from the Prince and Princess of Monaco, or could he simply not stand another one of Mrs. Johnson's famous boiled dinners?
I don't know the real reason. I'm only thankful that he's gone. No one seems to know where.
Well, I fully expected guests to be swinging from the rafters when I returned.
That was very nearly the case.
What do you mean?
Well, there's another Collins in town.
Which one?
Barnabas Collins.
Barnabas Collins? Well, the only Barnabas Collins I know is the one in the portrait out there.
Well, evidently this one is descended from that one.
Well, I thought I knew all of the Collinses.
This is the part of the family that went to England. I haven't met him yet.
I wonder what he wants.
All right.
So, Roger and Carolyn have a good relationship, as
They
you can
do,
see.
and he always calls her kitten. And in a way, he was a father figure to her.
Yes, since she
and,
didn't have one.
Yes, and she has a very strong connection to him. But at times, you see her rebelling against him, which is always funny.
Yeah, but this isn't one of those times. And you know what's really interesting is that the kitten nickname comes from Father Knows Best.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's what he calls his youngest kid.
Oh.
His kitten. And I think Father Knows Best was kind of a staple of American television.
Yeah.
So, of course, they would take certain things from...
Yeah, because they know it's popular.
Yeah.
And they do a recall to the Phoenix storyline.
Yeah.
Liz feeling improved.
Yeah, physically.
Yeah.
Which, in the Phoenix storyline...
She was sick. She wasn't feeling right. She was put under spell by the Phoenix.
Yeah.
And that happens again, but much later on. But not by the Phoenix.
No.
Let's watch this clip with Vicky and Carolyn discuss with Barnabas.
Discussing Barnabas,
sorry.
Okay.
Well, now that you finally met him, what do you think of him?
I like him very much.
But don't you think there's something a little bit strange about him?
Oh, of course. He's European. Has that old world charm.
No, it's something else. The way he talks, the words he chooses, it's as though they have some other meaning to him.
I don't follow you.
Well, it's as though he's talking to himself, commenting, making notes to himself.
Vicky, whatever are you talking about?
I don't know. Nothing. I guess I'm just imagining things. It's probably because Barnabas Collins has such a strong imagination.
What do you know about his imagination?
Well, he was letting it run pretty loose when I met him down at the old house.
In what way?
Oh, in the way he was talking about the house. He seemed to know all about the construction of it. Everything, right down to the size of the beams and the boards and the nails and the bricks and the rafters. And he knew stories about the foundations of it. and even the names of some of the people who built the house.
It's amazing.
He also knew all sorts of incidents that occurred, actual arguments that took place in the house.
You mean he has all the dirt on the Collins ancestors?
Well, it seems that way to me.
Well, maybe he's a history buff.
Well, he said that he got his information from journals and letters and stories that were told him.
Oh, Vicky, if he's done that much research on it, then the things he said must be facts, not imagination.
Well, there's something more to it than that. He has a feeling about that house that's just uncanny.
What do you mean?
You know how the front door to the old house sometimes sticks?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I couldn't get it unstuck. And he just walked over to it. And with the slightest flick of his wrist, opened the door.
That's a talented man.
But whether it's talent or imagination, he made me believe that he had opened that door 1,000 times. It was as though he'd actually lived there.
So, as you can see, everyone, David noticed weird things about Barnabas,
And
things that were off.
Yeah, and they all just pawn it off of him being European.
I know. Or that's the way a Collins should be.
Yeah.
Or he's from the European branch of the family.
But
He's a
it's-
history buff.
But it's his 18th century behavior. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
the fact
interesting.
that, he's not quite alive.
Yeah, and how
maybe.
he moves throughout scenes is different from how other characters move. Like he's stiff, but he's fluid throughout his movements. While everyone else is more there's more fluidity in their bodies as they move.
And speaking of movement,
Yes.
there was a lot of movement in the scene between Vicky and Carolyn.
Yes.
They're next to the clock, then they're over towards the table,
Mhm.
then they're over to the door, and it's the way that the show did scenes. It's not just one person standing here, another person standing there. They're talking. They're moving throughout the scenes, and it kind of gives the scene a natural arc.
It does.
Within itself, because there's actual movement.
Yes. And as they discuss him, Barnabas, you get another scene of Roger, Vicky, and Carolyn discussing Barnabas again.
Which we should see. And notice how the portrait dissolves.
Yes.
Well, Uncle Roger, you spent most of the time with him. What do you think of him?
I think he's a marvelous man, and he's extremely wealthy.
Oh, it's good to hear that you like someone.
Did you notice it?
Notice what?
The ring.
What ring?
This ring.
What do you mean?
He was wearing the very same ring.
No, I didn't notice.
It's an heirloom. I wish it had been handed down to me.
There's something else very strange.
What's that?
This painting. Have you noticed how much he resembles it?
Yes. It's more than a resemblance. It's almost as if it were exactly a portrait of him.
So.
And it's interesting because, again, there's emphasis on Barnabas' ring.
Yes. Lots of emphasis on the ring. Roger, did you notice the ring?
Of course Roger noticed the ring.
No.
Because Roger represents money. He's wealthy, Collins' family.
Yes, and as you can see, he likes him because he's wealthy.
I think it has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
And because he doesn't feel like he's going to try to ask them for anything.
Yeah. And another use of silence in this scene that's actually really creepy, when the portrait dissolves into Barnabas, that smile on his face, and
yes.
There's no music. It's just the dogs howling.
Yeah.
And it's
eerie.
It's unsettling.
It is. Because you don't know Barnabas' intentions yet.
Yeah.
And Fred's personal feelings about this episode are quite interesting. Would you like to talk about them?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
He didn't feel like this is a good episode for him. He had lots of trouble remembering names because two of these characters he hadn't interacted with yet. so he had to remember their names. You know, he already knew Vicky. He got that one down. He had one scene where it was just her. He was fine.
Yes.
Once there's, 3 or more people that he has to interact with, really 2 or more people, he has to remember names. Not so good, he doesn't have that great of a memory, so he's trying to recollect names. And he was really upset. He thought Dan Curtis was actually going to fire him after this episode.
That didn't happen.
No, of course not. He was just too popular.
Yep.
He was too good.
Yeah, he made the
character.
he did everything he should have as an actor to make a character worthwhile and compelling.
Yes, but he just didn't think that this was a good episode for him. I personally like it.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic too.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up this week.
Yeah. So, again, if you want to see these episodes, in their full glory, you can buy Collection 1 of the original series of the DVD. It's the first 5 episodes. Or, as John is getting, there is a complete series collection. And these episodes are on disc 25. If you want to get Spring for the entire thing, if you really love these clips and you think that you're going to be interested in seeing the entire series, that is a great buy from MPI Home Video. So, I hope you enjoyed this first week of Dark Shadows on the Net. We'll be returning next week. And next week we're not doing the series in order, but we're doing a week at a time. So next week we're going to move into parallel time a little later on, about 3 years later on. It's going to be fun. We're going to discuss more of the popular characters that you might have heard about, like Quentin and Angelique and Maggie, that weren't in this week.
Yes.
And of course Barnabas is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
He's always there. You can't, after he appears, they never wanted to have a storyline without him.
Well, why would you?
Of course.
All right.
So next week on
Dark Shadows on the Net,
we move to parallel time. Thank you for watching, and please join us next week. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put it on the comments page alone. If you have any questions, we'll address it next week as well. Thank you. Thank you for watching.